It's all about humanity.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can see you all joining in the chat. Smash the like button. Don't forget to do that. It is 6 p.m. here in the UK. I am Brian, the UK Bitcoin Master. In fact, I'm an old Bitcoin boomer. And this is you can see it up there, the Bullish Bitcoin channel. You can see BBC, only this is not the bullshit BBC. This is pure Bitcoin signal BBC. So welcome in, everyone. Don't forget to smash that like button. So important. Today is Monday, the 27th of January, 2025. We are nearly 1/12 through the year already. Can you believe that? If you're new for the first time finding my channel, please do your own research. Don't come looking for financial advice. You're just not going to find it. I'm just some regular Brit that chose, after going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole several years ago, to go live twice a week and talk about it and rant about it and get excited about it and all that type of stuff. Bring you the news, the latest breaking news as I can, bearing in mind I only go live Mondays and Thursdays. So, as you can see down there, do your own research. For anyone that wants to support the show live while we're streaming, there's a QR code if you want to use it. Again, I don't expect it. So, nobody needs to donate to this channel. You can check on YouTube. It has not been monetized. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing it because if I can help one noob not lose a couple of grand, 5 grand, 10 grand, family life savings on some kind of crap coin, then that's what I am here for. Very quickly, if we shoot over to the desktop, follow me somewhere else, people. I can't stress this enough. I've had this channel taken down once already, and there is no reason that it couldn't get taken again. You know what YouTube, Google, and the algorithms are all about. So follow me somewhere else. It is all in the show notes below. If you're not on the Orange Pill app, I keep beating the drum. You want to get on it. If you want to connect with Bitcoiners all around the world, if you want to move somewhere on holiday, go on holiday or move somewhere or go to a city somewhere around the world, you just have your app on your phone. You literally go in and see who is local to you while you're there. And you can meet up with Bitcoiners because it's a low monthly, like less than a cup of coffee subscription. And I'm surprised at how many people use my link and sign up because I get notified, but nobody ever gets a subscription. It's like, you tight-fisted so-and-sos. This is less than a price a cup of coffee per month for you to keep up with what's going on. We've got a UK Bitcoiners group where people are constantly posting in there and you can learn something. There's merchants on there. You're crazy if you don't. If you're going to find my show and register, use that link you can see there and get yourself 10,000 sats once you've subscribed. But again, very quickly, don't take my word for it. Take the word of somebody that's becoming huge in the space.
I am so excited to share that I have joined Orange Pill app as an advisor. If you haven't downloaded this app yet, you are missing out on connecting with Bitcoiners in your area. The Orange Pill app is building the social layer for Bitcoin and helping to create opportunities for in-person connections and community building. You can create a profile and you will see lots of familiar faces there. And then you can search for Bitcoiners or Bitcoin events based on your location. I am geotagged in my home base, St. Louis, and I'm super grateful because the Orange Pill app has helped connect me with Bitcoiners in my new city. So come join us, download the Orange Pill app and head to theorangepillapp.com for more information.
Or use the link you can see there or the one in the show notes. That is Natalie Brunell. If you're new to all of this and you don't know who Natalie Brunell is, she's massive. She goes on all the talking head shows, CNBC and Fox and so on and so forth, beating the drum for Bitcoin. I've connected with Natalie through the Orange Pill app. You could too. You're nuts if you don't use it. Anyway, Best of Exmoor, show sponsors, Bitcoin accepted, top left, you can see that. If you're ever looking for a holiday/vacation, then do check out the Best of Exmoor. They've got 200-ish properties in the southwest corner of the UK. Because they are a show sponsor, can I encourage you to just scan the QR code and look around? You don't need to go and spend your precious Bitcoin to buy a holiday/vacation, but at some point in the future, you're probably going to want to do that. So do at least scan, go and check them out. Okay, so back to me. as always, let's see who we've got in my chat. BitcoinMaster is now traveling a 2-day travel back to Utah. So, Adam, when you finally get round to watching this, please drive safely. You got John G is in the house. Chelsea Baz is with us. JB Bitcoin has joined us. I can see Elaine, Mrs. UK, talking about she's just bought the dip. It's always nice when you buy the dip, isn't it? Chaz is with us. Good to see you, Chaz. Wiltshire BTC. Get in there, my good buddy. Who else have we got? Rocky Palumbo is with us. Yorkie Bitcoiner. Big Mike is in the house. Barefoot Barry, greetings from New Zealand. Always good to see New Zealand in the house. Justin is with us. Good to see you, Justin. We've got DOGE by Bitcoin. Yeah, no, absolutely. Vinny Rondo is with us. UK Bitcoin Farmer, Mr. 60. And anybody else joining, look, if you want to say something that you want me to read out, providing I want to read it out, of course, bearing in mind the structure of my show, you just literally type in UK Bitcoin Master as it reads on my bio, and then a message, and it will light up for me, not you, bright orange. And then I'll gladly give you a shout out. So I want to get on with the show. I thought I would mix it up a little bit today and do something slightly different. Those that are pretty new to the show won't have seen this before, but I used to dissect videos and talk about them of people, pretty prominent in the space. Good to see you, Stacking Rishi. As always, sir, thanks for being here. So I thought I'd mix it up and do one of those videos today. Now, any of you that are deep down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you would have probably seen this video already. So I guess I'm doing it for those that may not have seen it. You've seen the thumbnail. He orange-pilled Michael Saylor. How did he do that? Etc. And I watched this a couple of days ago on Nico's channel, Simply Bitcoin, and he interviewed Eric Weiss. And Eric Weiss is a good friend of Michael Saylor's, and he orange-pilled Michael Saylor. And it's interesting because I had British HODL on my show last year, sometime I believe, and British HODL is a friend of Eric Weiss, and he reached out to Eric to see if Eric would come on my show, but unfortunately he said, I can't, I'm too busy. It is what it is. Of course, I'd love to talk to him. The person that orange-pilled Michael Saylor, why wouldn't you want to talk to somebody like that? But he was on Nico's channel, and I was so impressed with everything he said. I thought that I would just I've got 4 or 5 little snippets of that video to show you all for those that haven't seen it. So this first clip, he's talking about how Saylor was just simply not interested at all in Bitcoin. He tried and tried and tried. The guy dismissed it. He said, I've got far too much on my plate trying to fight the big guns with his software company that he's got. And he said, I've got absolutely no interest in magic internet money. Then we know a pandemic hit 5 years ago. Can you believe that's 5 years ago come March? It's like, what? No, 4 years ago. No, 2020, wasn't it? Help. It is 5 years ago come March. It's like, what the flipping heck? Anyway, the pandemic came and they were kicking around their Michael's apartment, he said. And he said all of a sudden he mentioned it again. And Saylor then said, okay, tell me all about it. Now, for me, what I take from that is this. If you've never heard this saying before, when the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear. It's an old prophecy, I believe, or proverb or something of that nature. And basically, Saylor was not interested. The timing is right. Everything lines up. The stars line up. And he says to Eric, okay, go tell me about it. So let's hear what Eric had to say about that in his own words, if this technology works. Here we go.
For anyone who doesn't know, this is Eric Weiss, orange-pilled Michael Saylor. So how was that like, man? Like, we've come such a long way. I think that was like 2020 or 2021.
That was 2020, yeah. We've been friends for a very long time, and I got into this space before Michael did. I discovered Bitcoin and bought my first Bitcoin in 2013, and I'd been mentioning it occasionally, and he was not interested in hearing about it at all. It was varying degrees of dismissing the conversation. But, Michael was running a company with a couple thousand employees and competing with the likes of Microsoft and Salesforce. which is like brutally impossible. I mean, you know, he's competing against companies that are giving away the product that he's offering essentially for free. So it's just a really tough business. And he was out there, you know, he's running the gauntlet every day and wasn't really interested in this internet money thing that I was raving about. And so he was like, no interest, very dismissive for a long time. And then it was during the pandemic. We were hanging out at his house during the days here in Miami, just because the surroundings there are quite comfortable, as you know, relative to my apartment, and trying to make sense of what was going on in the world. Everything is closed, all businesses are closed, and yet the stock market's going up, and you know, things just weren't making sense. And I said, anytime there's big change like this, there's opportunity. We just have to find it. And then I started talking about Bitcoin again, and instead of dismissing the topic, you know, he said, okay, tell me more about that. And I was like, okay, you know, here we go. And we spoke about Bitcoin for days and days, maybe weeks. And then one day I was pulling into a restaurant down here, Smith & Walensky's, and the phone rings. Normally he'll text, you know, but phone rings. I'm like, oh no, something might have happened. So I'm like, what's up? And he's like, well, I bought Bitcoin. And I'm like, great. And at the time, Bitcoin was exactly $10,000, you know, per BTC. And he goes, yeah, 10,000. And I go, you bought one Bitcoin? It's like, no, Eric, I bought 10,000 Bitcoin.
Bought 10,000. Eric thought he bought one Bitcoin. So, you know, all of a sudden we know over the last coming up for 5 years, all the buys that Saylor has made and what he's done and how he's built his stack. But, you know, he wasn't interesting. Now, why am I saying that? Because we all go talk to the people around us, and of course, they're not interested. If we just keep talking when the time is right, eventually, they say, don't they, everyone gets Bitcoin at the price that they deserve. Everyone will come to Bitcoin eventually. You know, and some people say, oh, don't be stupid. Not everyone will come to Bitcoin. Yes, they will, because people will be using Bitcoin in the future and they don't even know it, because it will be the backbone of the financial world, and they'll be moving money around, buying things, selling things, and somehow Bitcoin will be the underlying bearer instrument. So, you know, I would say to you all, and I've got to give myself a bit of self-talk here, and that is, don't give up on people. Just keep telling them, because this thing's going to change the world. And, you know, when you see the percentage of people that hold, you know, any amount of Bitcoin, even half a Bitcoin, 0.1 of a Bitcoin, it's staggering in relation to 8 billion people around the world. So, you know, keep talking to them. If somebody like Saylor, who had $500 billion, I think 500, no, was it $500 million? I think 500 million on his, in his treasury reserve. And he said it was like a melting ice cube. And all of a sudden, he then ended up piling all of that into Bitcoin. So don't give up on people. Doge's Michael. Oh, hello, Michael. Good to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. Okay, so let's go to the next clip. In this clip, he says, and I quote, "Do not make the mistake I made," or he made. He sold his Bitcoin way back many years ago, and then he talks to Nico about how long it took him to get back to where he was before selling his stack. He also talks about the crazy expensive apartment analogy with Nico as well. So let's have a little listen in on that one, shall we?
When I said don't sell your Bitcoin, it's going to be very tough to get back on that podcast, which went more viral than I had anticipated. It was really, that stemmed from, I had a lot's a relative thing, but for me, I had a lot of Bitcoin in 2013 that I bought at roughly, you know, $600 per Bitcoin. Wow. And then in 2014, I sold that Bitcoin. And it took, how many, was that 2016 till now? So it took about 8 or 9 years for me to get back to where I was. So
Nico's face.
It's very, once you sell your Bitcoin, it's very hard to get it back.
One Bitcoin OG, he was like the first programmer that Satoshi ever spoke to.
Okay.
and he did a presentation in Lugano in Switzerland called My Pizza Story. And essentially, the long story short, he ended up selling like 10,000 Bitcoin to buy a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone has that story, you know?
It's an expensive apartment.
And then you burn your finger and you're like, okay, this is probably not a good idea.
Okay, so at the time, 10,000 Bitcoin to buy a 1-bed apartment. How do you think that person feels today? 10,000 Bitcoin to get 2 Papa John's, large Papa John's pizzas delivered, Laszlo, in May the 22nd, 2010. You know, Laszlo said it's all good, it's all okay. But really, you don't think, you look back and think, oh my goodness. So what have we got Bitcoin at? We're at 99.4. So it's on sale, get some. Okay, let's call it 100 grand. And I don't know, anybody good at maths? Anybody got a calculator? What is 10,000 times 100,000? Because it's a darn lot of money. So why am I saying that right now? Why is Eric saying that right now? Because everybody thinks 100 grand, what a price for Bitcoin. Sell at the top, what, before it goes down. If that's how you're feeling, you have no clue what is coming. You have no clue how this thing is going to 1 million, 3, 5, 10 million down the road. I can't tell you when, but it's coming. So those people today that think they're really, really clever by selling a certain amount of Bitcoin and buying something with it, well done. Nothing wrong with it. But don't live with regret down the road when you realize how much of your Bitcoin that cost you to buy that item. Me, I'm hanging on and I'm actively keeping my eyes on anything to do with securing a loan against my Bitcoin and not giving them any capital gains tax and keeping my stack to leave to future generations. And, you know, I can't suggest you should do the same, but tongue in cheek, I think you should. Next one, he breaks it all down into very simplistic terms for people to understand, peeling away all the fluff and the FUD and the noise and everything, and talks about how the global game theory is well and truly on now for the scarcest asset humanity has ever known. Keep that one in mind. He also talks about all the risks with conventional companies and investments that are simply not there with Bitcoin. There's an adjusted risk, or whatever they call it, risk to reward, that, they're saying that, oh golly, you're lucky you got into Bitcoin in, say, 2016, 2017. But back then, it could have been shut down. It could have been banned. It could have been co-opted with the block size wars and everything else. It was more risky to buy Bitcoin back then than it ever is today, with the banks and the institutions and Saylor and Trump and everything else. So on a risk-adjusted basis, it is better to stack like mad now at 100K, because this thing is simply not going away. So let's listen into this clip.
I just look at it from a more simplistic macro point of view,
Gotcha.
Right? It's like, it's very scarce. There's a fixed amount. Everybody in the world is starting to want this stuff.
Yep.
We went from being persona non grata by the administration to in control. Not just liked, but in control. And that's powerful. And when the world sees that the U.S. is embracing this, then you get a lot of that game theory, and you'll see other nation states and country, and companies and municipalities clamor to get this. And it kind of starts a little bit of an arms race of, folks around the world trying to accumulate Bitcoin. So where the price goes, I don't know. I do know that relative to other investments, there's no execution risk like there is with a company, where management could screw you, miss a quarter, do something unsavory. There's no nation state risk. There's none of these massive risks that face every other type of investment, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key. There's no downside risk apart from Bitcoin going to zero, which is just, I can't say never, but so highly unlikely in 2025. And they're all clamoring to get some of it. And then I say it again at the risk of just repeating myself. 8 billion people, currently I don't know what percentage level of people that have got any meaningful amount of Bitcoin/crypto, but if you get into Bitcoin today and stack, you are ahead of at least 95, 98% of the world. You are ahead of the nation states. Keep that one in mind. Now, here's another one. He talks about hodling, holding on for dear life. HODL, that's what it means if you're new. Somebody spelt it wrong and it caught on. Should have said holding and they said HODL. Hold on for dear life is what it means if you don't know. And he said hodling is really hard. Now, yes, I guess for most people it is, but I got to put my hand on my heart and say, for me, it's not been hard at all. Even through the brutal down of top in December 2017 at 20K and a brutal bear market down into 2018 to 3.2, I believe it was. None of it fazed me. I just felt I knew what I was holding and the fact that I was holding it for the long term. Alexander, I love this channel. Thank you, Alexander. That is really appreciative because sometimes you wonder why you're doing it, but thank you. Means a lot. So he says hodling is hard and it's hard to hold when we're all human and we want nice things or experiences. You know, that's what we're put on this earth for. He praises all those who have hodled for years and not sold, and here's the key, he says, as they deserve all that is coming their way. The more you have in Bitcoin, the more you also start to question everything around you and the system and also he talks about how, well, Nico mentions this, how we all come for the money. We all come to make some more money, and yet most of us, including me, stay for the revolution. The money's going to be great, but knowing that I'm playing my part in the changing of the old guard and getting rid of, you know, separating money from state, corrupt governments, etc., that's the, if you want to call it, the revolution. And that's the part that I want to play my part in. 6721GB, good to see you. Welcome. Smash the like button, everyone who hasn't smashed the like button. So let's have a listen in on this clip, shall we?
It's very hard to hodl. It's hard to hodl through it. I think it's harder to hodl through the good times than it is the bad ones because nobody wants to sell at the bottom. But it's hard not to sell at the top. It's hard not to sell when you could sell and do things in fiat that are important to you. Yeah. So, you know, the people who have hodled for all these years, I'm happy for them. They deserve the rewards that are coming their way. Yeah,
you change. There's a cost to it. Like hodling, if you describe it, it seems easy.
It's so hard.
But you change. You change as a person. Yeah. You know, the years that goes by. It's an emotional journey.
It is.
And the more of your net worth is in Bitcoin, the more questions you start asking about money, the more questions you start asking about the system. Initially, it's like, oh, I want to get rich. But then, you know, you come for the money, stay for the revolution.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Nico there more. Last clip. Look, he's talking about how this thing is going to be adopted. It isn't... It might not. It is already being adopted. He also talks about what I've talked about on many shows, and that is that, you know, even if every millionaire on the planet wanted to get some Bitcoin, he talked about how many millionaires there are. He said they couldn't even have a third of a Bitcoin, 0.3 of a Bitcoin each, because there simply isn't enough to go around. You know, then you factor in lost coins, you know, different commentators say 3,000-4,000 lost coins, and Satoshi's coins are gone. There's still, you know, nearly a couple of million coins to still be mined, which clearly won't be there in our lifetimes. So this thing is like mega scarce. But scarcity is no good unless somebody wants that thing that is scarce. Scarcity on its own is no good at all. Okay? And people want this asset, and he talks about that. But he also talks about it's got no value at all unless you hold it self-sovereign as a bearer instrument. Have a listen.
It's going to get adopted, and there's so little of this stuff out there. I mean, there's 63, 65 million millionaires in the world. Mm-hmm. There's not even enough Bitcoin for every millionaire in the world to own like a third of a Bitcoin.
Yeah. It's easy.
We're talking about something really scarce.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take too many individuals, companies, nation states, municipalities to adopt it for all of a sudden they're just to feel like there's not a lot to go around.
Yeah, and then out of those 21 million, like 4 million are
lost forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's like 17 million.
Another couple million hasn't come out yet. Be waiting around to the year 2140. So yeah, it's pretty scarce.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely scarce.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything else you could say that about.
No, it's not just the scarcity is key, but also the bear aspect of it is as well.
Okay.
You really need to be able to take possession of it for it to have value and for it to to be something that no one and nothing can seize from you.
Okay, so people, there you've heard around 6 to 7 minutes in clips of the guy that orange-pilled Michael Saylor. I suggest you take heed on what he's just said through those clips, because you don't have to believe me, you don't have to believe him, but what you do have to do is look at the evidence that is out there. For example, we've got Davos just been going on or gone on, where all the big bankers and everyone meets. And the only time you ever heard about Bitcoin was when there was clips coming out of Jamie Dimon calling it a pet rock from JP Morgan, calling it a pet rock and what a scam and everything else. This time around, they can't stop talking about Bitcoin. Look at this. From Larry Fink, Ray Dalio, one of the most successful investors of all time, this other CEO there, Goldman Sachs, they are all talking about Bitcoin. Not only that, when you look at the countries that own Bitcoin, you get an idea. The USA here, 189,000, China 194, UK 61, Ukraine 46, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 8 countries there. And if you look at that geographically, this game theory is going to kick in like nobody's business. And you, me, we have got one opportunity in our lifetime to front run all these nation states that want the asset that we currently hold, which means they're going to drive the value of our family's net worth up. Keep that one in mind. You've got this one. This is massive news, although I don't fully understand it. It's from the USA. SAB 121 is something that was put in place technically so that banks in the US couldn't custody Bitcoin. Trump gets in, he brings out SAB 122 and overturns that. And that means that banks are going to be able to custody people's Bitcoin. Now, they're never going to get my Bitcoin. I hope they never get your Bitcoin, but it's going to give them the possibility, because many people simply won't want to secure their own Bitcoin with their own private keys, and they'll want to leave it at banks. So the mere fact that banks will now be able to custody Bitcoin in the US is a massive, massive deal. You got this one from Daniel Semper Pico. Bitcoin's market cap is a 30% pump away from eclipsing the entire UK FTSE 100. A decentralized network born from one man's open source code, freely distributed on the internet, will have created more value than the top 100 of the UK's largest public companies. Probably nothing, but I'll add this on the end. You might want to get some just in case it catches on. And then this one from Interstellar Bitcoin. The fact is, there is only 5.64% of the supply of Bitcoin remaining, hasn't sunk in for the vast majority of the world. No, the fact that there is only 5.64 of the supply remaining hasn't sunk in for the vast majority of the world. And you want to think about that, people. The vast majority of the world, they ain't got it yet. And if you're on this call, hopefully you have got it. And that's really important. I want to quickly go back over again. I love this picture. This is Natalie Brunell. I call her our Natalie. She's beating the Bitcoin drum. I'm in Bitcoin, so we're all in Bitcoin. So she's our Natalie. And she tweeted this picture out of her dress that says "Fix the Money" on the back, and it was inspired by whoever AOC is, but I've Googled it, and it's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and apparently she's a US congresswoman who put on her dress, "Tax the rich." I just thought this was absolutely superb. So well done, Natalie, for that dress, which, by the way, was also a beautiful looking dress. So there you go, peeps. That's another show done. Let me just bring up my quote. Yeah, boo, bar, humbug. Obviously RIP now, but he used to beat up on Bitcoin. But his quote here, I do like. Great investing requires a lot of delayed gratification. That's what Adam Meister used to drum into us. Great delay gratification. Put off buying that new shiny toy, whatever it is. Put it off and let Bitcoin do its thing, and you ain't gonna go far wrong. RIP, Mr. Grumpy. Okay, if you want to support the show, there you go. There's some Sats addresses and the buy me a cup of coffee address, but I don't expect that, so no one has to, but some people want to. But that was it. That was your show for the 27th of January 2025. On Thursday, I have 2 live guests, all being well. So come and join me a little bit earlier on Thursday. We will be going live at 5:30 p.m. London time, half an hour earlier than usual. It's the only way I could get these 2 guests to come and join me. I'm really looking forward to this one. I think you'll get a lot from this one, particularly if you want to learn how companies are innovating and helping to keep employees by putting some Bitcoin within the company and showing what's going on with the price of Bitcoin to the employees. Absolutely fascinating. Can't wait to talk to these 2 people on Thursday. So come and join us, 5:30 p.m. on Thursday. But for now, please retweet this. Please share it where you're watching or listening. Thanks for your support. As always, please go into the comments when the video live stream has ended. Refresh your browser and leave me a comment, because it helps to keep this out there for longer so more noobs cannot get wrecked by going down the crap coin route. And there's going to be loads of them coming, with Trump's opening it up free for all for crypto as well as Bitcoin. There you go. That's my bit said. That's it. I'm done. Thanks for joining me. Be back on Thursday. Until then, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and the next few days. And I will see you all on Thursday. Social media links coming up.
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill.
This is a technology, it's a computing language.